where is your husband, woman? It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought that, how is God comfortably sitting up there in heaven watching me go through all this and he's literally doing nothing?
Yeah. I want to marry a lady who has children.
But then if you're a guy, you're a man, you're married and you don't have a ring, keep your ring on. That's how ladies make themselves available for you because you don't have a ring. So guys, welcome to our podcast today. We have a special one for you. And I know you're going to be so blessed listening to today's podcast. So my husband and I will be talking about how we met, but the events that led to our meeting. It's going to be so exciting, and so it's going to be a blessing for singles and those who are looking for love again, those who are looking to be loved again or to love again. There is hope. So I don't want you to feel like you're left out, or you feel like there is no hope, maybe because of your age or because you have children or because of the things that you have gone through. There is a hope. As long as you have that desire in your heart that you actually want to get married, maybe you want to get married again, you've tried marriage and it did not work, or you feel like time is running out because of your age, this one is for you. So let's get right into it, babe.
Yes, we can go deeper and just dig into what transpired even before we got to get to know each other. Personally, myself, I was through a period, and this period was a period of mourning, and I had just lost my first wife, and I was every time I would realize that I'm not meant to be alone. Why? Because most of the time is when I'd find that I've missed to prepare my son going to school. It's opening school day, and that's when I remember that he's supposed to have gotten a certain item or gone through the barber shop. It showed that I needed a helper. I'd been working with a pastor friend of mine from a church I used to attend, and this pastor, a female pastor, she had asked me so many times to meet her at her office. She's a family pastor, and so we met, and I explained that I was eligible for marriage, and she kept on urging me to not to be holding back, but to be open to having coffee with several friends, people I would call friends, and or people I would see suitable, and not to shy off. And so one time I remember when we just come from a meeting for the singles and bereaved. It's called the Ark Ministry. I think now you hear that, you might relate where you might connect where I was. So she was the founder of Ark Ministry, and I remember that time we were put in groups, and I met some few ladies and we were talking, and that's why I remember that time is when we were just standing by one of the ladies' cars, and as I was explaining to the ladies, well, I had a thing. I had a biasness. I found that out that I had a biasness. I had a thing which said that I wanted to marry a lady who has children. Why what was that informed by? It was because when I was still with my late wife, apparently we had separated a few years, but I was still very, very pushy and adamant that I wanted my house back. And as much as many people told me to move on, and that my wife she's not in that same spirit of coming back together, I still wanted my house back. I remember when at that point is when my wife, I think at the time I tried going back home and she refused, and so I realized that she had experienced the independence that is spoken of the modern lady. And she didn't think she can go back under authority, and so. But I kept telling her I'm not planning to do any kind of divorce, and that I kept telling her that I had a thing about divorce, that I was not going to water a tree of divorce, because my dad also was a divorcee, and that would make her hungry. And then, so this sort of informed me why I could not take a lady with children. Why? Because I thought that the father of the children was still wanting his house back. And then I was thinking I'll be the one to come and put that desire away and break that desire from that man. And when I explained that to my pastor and my family pastor, she understood and she told me then she thinks she has some few ladies I can see and talk to. I'd asked God. I remember that a few months before that meeting, talking to my pastor, I just talked to God and told him I need a home. And I remember the instruction he gave me vividly was to go into the inner room and do midnight prayers. Yeah. And especially he told me the prayer will not be anything but just speak in tongues. And I prayed speaking in tongues for 1 full year. And that's every day without fail.
Every day at midnight.
At midnight without fail. And I remember even trying to introduce my son. I have a son, 14-year-old boy, trying to introduce him to join me into prayers, but he would just be telling me, "Oh, Dad, I'm okay." And so I would pray. I remember when I was moving house, my neighbors were like, "We'll not be having prayers anymore in this house. You're the one who was speaking in tongues." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was a visible, audible thing that people could tell I was praying all along." And so I prayed for 1 full year, and as I moved home, I went to another apartments, and I remember at that point I had to get help for the house. The house helps from a company where they source out for house helps, and so I got one, and this lady comes into my house. Yes, and so this lady is the genesis of my of my future, because now when she came, I remember she understood that I am a real estate guy. I am in real estate, and she told me about her and her sister, and that it has structures on it. Would I want to go and see it and just give them a valuation? I told them I told her, okay. I decided to just go along, play along, and just say, told her that, okay, the idea would be to go and just see, and then introduce them to a valuer who would also come and see it and even value the place, and eventually they'll have a figure. And so we decided for a day for us to go to her sister's place. Her sister is the one who was to live on that land. The structure that she had built was her home.
Yeah, so before you get there.
Yeah.
So I was also like single for some time, a mother of 3 children. And during the time we're meeting, single, living my life, career woman, working and pursuing career goals, even as I parent my children. But all along, I'm hearing the call of God. But there is this biasness also in the society that a single woman, in ministry alone, people are like, well, okay, let's stay away from this one first, because we don't even, where is your husband, woman? Yeah. Where is your husband? And, there are people out there who still think that women cannot do ministry. And so there are limitations. Yeah. And I think in my mind, I was like, God, I think this thing is also derailing me from launching out completely into ministry. So there's a period of time, of course, when you have children, they're going to school, they can see their friends with their fathers and all that, because we had separated for a good amount of time. For over 5 years. I think by the time we were meeting, it was 7. So, but I had not yet filed for divorce. So I thought that maybe the reason why I'm not meeting new people is because I'm still holding on and thinking that this guy will come back. Well, eventually, because he had already moved on, so I decided to file for divorce. And I think the period I decided to file for divorce, that's when God now orders you to get into prayer. Because it was exactly 1 year.
Yes.
Yeah, it was exactly 1 year. That's when now my divorce is final. Yeah. That's when we are starting to talk.
Yeah.
And so did I pray for a man? Well, there are those times that I did. There's a period of time that I was extremely desperate. And that's the period when the kids would really push, like, oh, where's our dad? Why do other children have that and we don't?
Yeah.
You're never home because the industry that I worked in, did not give us enough time to be with family. Yeah. When you're in the hospitality industry, you literally don't have a life. So I would be out most weekends, coming back home late. Yeah. When I'm home, they're in school, because you'd see that my offs would be on weekdays.
Yeah.
And so we would only spend time together during my leave days, or when they are on their school holidays, which would mean these are long periods of time. Yeah. So there was that period whereby I was desperate. I felt I needed help with the children. I felt I needed companionship. I felt like the family was too heavy for me to carry. I didn't know what to do with the children. Sometimes it would translate to, anger and bitterness, even towards them. Like, I would be angry because like they're pressuring me. They're asking me too many questions. I have questions of my own that I don't have answers to. And they expect me to answer their questions. Each one of them have homeworks. I have brought work home. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought that, how is God comfortably sitting up there in heaven watching me go through all this and he's literally doing nothing, So there's this time that
He wasn't doing nothing.
I mean, when I was going through that, I thought like he was not doing anything. But kumbe there's a Jama who is speaking in tongues the whole night. So, there's that time that I was really praying, and I also could feel the call of God, like to go into ministry. But I had tried. I actually did try. I even opened a church and ran it for 1 year. It was me and my children and a couple of friends. But because, small ministries, sometimes we'll just get people coming in for a few months and then they're like, I miss the instruments, I miss crowds, and they would go back. So for 1 year, it was just me and my children. And I would say, that period is where now I got into much prayer about it. But it came to a time that I said to myself, I have prayed enough. I don't think repetition of the same prayer is really changing much. So I decided that I have prayed. I have prayed and I'm not going to pray about this anymore. So enough is enough. And I made this final prayer. I told God, you know my heart, you know what I desire, you know the kind of woman I am. If there's a man out there who I am suitable for, you prepare him to be suitable for me as well. That was my prayer. Prepare him. Because you've prepared me this far. If there's anything that I don't have, if there's a quality in me that is yet to be developed, or I don't even know that I need it, but it is important to that person, make me. So I surrendered to the making of God. And I prayed for the man to be made. I said, make him. Prepare him for me, for my children, for the call. Because I was like, the man coming into my life, he must know that I'm called into ministry. I'm not called into, I'm in the marketplace, I'm working because of my children. But the man that you're preparing for me, I not only want a companion, a person who is going to be the father to my children, a person who is going to love and adopt my children, but I also want someone who is going to see me the way you see me as your servant, not only as a wife, but understand I have a call in my life, and allow me to pursue my calling. So this was a conversation that I was having with God, just pouring out my heart. And from that moment when I made that prayer, desperation left. Like I totally stopped being desperate. I stopped. Let me tell you, there's this thing that happens. I don't know whether it happens with men, but with ladies, they look at a guy just from the visual, from the outside, and they would scan him very fast. First of all, look at the fingers. Is this guy even married? He can make a good man. You're scanning a person and you're like, wow. So even that stopped. Like I stopped scanning men. I stopped noticing men whose fingers did not have a ring. But then if you're a guy, you're a man, you're married and you don't have a ring, keep your ring on. That's how ladies will, make themselves available for you because you don't have a ring. So I would, and even my single friends, they would tell me, so I shared with a friend of mine and I told her, I usually look at the fingers. Kama ring hakuna. My eyes are on him. Not that I'm going to throw myself to him, but my mind just plays with the idea that this is a nice guy. If he would notice me, I wouldn't mind going for a coffee date. So that's where it ended with me. I don't know with other ladies. Nowadays they say even ladies can shoot the shots. It starts from, you not wearing your ring. Ladies will shoot their shots because people are desperate out here. So I was desperate, but now after making that prayer, I stopped being desperate. I stopped looking. I stopped making myself available, even by making myself available in that I did not present myself as, hey, I'm single, I'm a mom, nini. No, my name is Annie, that's it. I didn't present anything to sell any idea. No, I did not. I was just myself. And I told God, that's it. Now sasa kazi kwako. Make me make him and bring us together. So now we're coming to this point where my sister is...
Just even before that. So you have just mentioned the children I've remembered. Remember my biasness.
Yes.
Remember, my vastness is that I shy away from someone with with children.
Yeah.
Or even with a child.
Yeah.
Because of why I was feeling that the dad might be wanting his house back.
Yeah.
Just like I was.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take anyone different from myself. But now I'm praying, and now somewhere God tells me in prayer, I hear a confirmation in my heart that God is interested in the person I'm going to marry, and He's jealous of the womb of that person.
Yeah, I remember that.
He's jealous. Why he wants me to get somebody is because he's jealous of her womb. Yeah, I didn't know that translated. I kept on thinking that, oh, am I going to get children? Is it that the fruit of her womb is what he's jealous of? Is that the child I'm going to get is the one he's jealous of? And so now that is what is now playing in my mind, and I think I was shared with my pastor that the Lord was impressing on me that he's jealous of the womb that I'm going to marry. So that was what was playing. I thought maybe am I getting a young girl who will not have children, then we'll get children with her. I didn't know what to put of it. And now this lady comes to my house and is working with me and she's telling me to go see this land that they have joined with her sisters. And now I take a friend of mine and we now start the safari.
So before you see, when she started work, when she started, immediately the first day she came to your house, she called me.
Yeah.
And she told me, I've gone into this house.
So this stands out. The sisters she's talking about. Yeah. Annie is a sister.
Yeah, my sister. Yeah. She's telling me, I've entered this house, and for some reason, it feels like your house.
Yeah.
It's like I have entered you. I can even feel you here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh? Yeah. She's like, I feel you. Like I feel you here. This is. It's like I'm in your house. It was so, and she called me and we talked for like a whole hour. And everything she was saying was like, this is your house. I am in your house. Me, I'm like, how are you in my house?
Yeah.
I didn't know. The person I'm working for, he's, the wife passed on. He has a son. And she tells me about you. And she's like, this is your house. I don't know how, but me, I just know this is your house. Yeah. So every day I think she wouldn't come every day. It was twice a week or something.
Yes, twice a week.
Every time she would come, she would call me while in the house, and she would actually sometimes call me to ask me what to cook. Like, what do you think I should? I'm like, what? I don't know. You do your thing. No. This is your house. What do you think this guy should eat today? Yeah. Give me recipes.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, she used to cook very, very new things I didn't know about, and she was impressive. Yes.
Yeah, we would cook on phone. Yeah. We would cook on phone together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tell her, okay, so go buy these spices. Yeah. There's that time I think she made you buy.
Like 11 spices. Yeah.
That was my list.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, she's quite. We go to her sister's house. Now then when I get there, this when I see the place and I meet Annie for the first time. And Annie comes and I look at her and I nothing hits my heart or my mind, but I just see, okay, this is Annie. She's pretty, and I was like, okay. And so I was introduced to her two children, Jay and Joy. And so this is what happens now. Joy comes in and she says she has a song to present to us, me and my friend from the real estate. And she starts singing. And I've never heard that song before.
She made it up for you guys.
Yeah, I've never heard it before. So I'm looking at Annie to see if it's a song she's familiar with. So maybe then she'll be singing along. But where? Nothing. That's not the case. I could now understood that this child is freestyling.
Exactly.
she's doing a prophetic song
on the spot. Yeah.
What? And now God now reminds me the prayer that the word that He gave me, that He's jealous of the womb of that lady I'll meet. What? I'm like, what? So the jealousy was on the fruit of that womb, and this is the fruit of this womb, this little girl. And the son also came. Jay came, and he was polite. And I didn't know. I said okay, and then of course, business being business, I had to stick to what He brought me there. So I don't know I've never done this before, but I know after just the meeting and we discussed and we said we're planning for the next week to go see a valuer. I offered to pray for the house. I don't do such things.
Pray in clients.
In a client's house. Yes, I prayed. And then we left with my friend. And it's interesting because I shared with my friend, I said, telling him, you see such a lady like that, like Annie, she could be a special lady. And I was just talking about her in a light note, just talking a bit about who we've met. And it ended up there. So with time I started meeting. The next week we met again. I took them to a value with the sister. So I met Annie again and the sister, and we took them to a value, and they met to a value, and I left them at that point. And I think that's when we took a break from what we.
Yeah.
It was like another 3-4 months.
Yeah. So the whole time, you see now after, well, we were selling.
Yeah.
We were selling. The intention was there because I had heard God calling. I said earlier that having had the call, I was hearing God say that it's time for me to move into ministry. But because of resources, I didn't want to begin something without money.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to sell. And I've said this before in the podcast as I was speaking about the leading, about the Holy Spirit who is our guide. And as the Spirit being my guide, he had spoken to me concerning a place that I needed to move to, which we're discussing at the moment. And so I wanted to sell this place so that when I move and start ministry, because I had to resign from work and I knew I'm not going to have an income. Yeah. So I did not want to go and start with zero. Yeah. I did not want to start building something without having counted the cost. Yes. So I counted the cost and I saw the cost is equivalent to the value of my property. And so that's why I was selling. And to push me with school fees and moving and building and leasing or buying land, all that. So the intention was there. So because the intention was there, so when my sister met you, she's like, this guy works for a real estate. Yeah. He can help us. However, she had, as I said, that she had sensed and had this conviction in her heart that when she is in your house, she feels my presence and feels as if she is literally in my house. Yes. And by the way, there's nothing in that house that was identical to something I had in mine. So you can't say that it's the TV because I have the same TV. No, the TV was smaller than yours. So the seats were totally different. So there's nothing she saw in your house that might have given her that idea. So I would say this was totally God. So the intention to sell was there. Because the plan was for me to move into another city. And so but when you were coming along, she's like, okay, if you just meet him, if it doesn't work, well and good. So it was, the plan was to meet you, for me to meet you. But the intention is really to sell this place. But the idea is to also introduce me to you. So I was to meet you. And so after you guys left, she was like, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's just pray about it. I don't know. So, and I was not desperate. Remember, desperation had left. So I wasn't desperate.
I remember your sister coming and with time, she would ask me, she was very bold. She was like, have you called my sister? She's a pastor. I'm like, okay, what is this now? And then I was like, okay, I'll call her. Let me take her. And then I'll call her. And then I find out she's still around, so she's not going back to her workstation in the campus early. And so we meet for the first time. For coffee. So let's talk about how we met now on a date on the next episode. All right.
Thank you guys. Leave a comment and we will be excited to continue sharing our story. God bless you. Bye.